Thriving Forward, where conversations begin. And where do we continue them? In our Facebook group, of which I will talk to you about later. So we're here to support your choice for change, and because we all have choices for change. Okay, so with Thriving Forward, we use what are called thriving centers, the Blue Zone Way. Has anybody heard about the Blue Zone Way?
No.
Anybody's holding up the book there. So Dan Buttner, I believe is the way he pronounced his name, went around certain areas of the world where there were high numbers of centurions and studied to see why they lived so long. And so he came up with the fact that there are 6 thriving centers that they focus on. So this community, of course, workplace, social life, financial life, home life, and self. And tonight we are, so every session that we have with Thriving Forward, we focus on one area, and within that we kind of deep dive a little bit into one specific topic. So tonight we're focusing on home, which is your house, apartment, or condo, and the yard and grounds around it. Is your home set up to nudge you into behaviors that favor happiness away from behaviors that generate discontent? So I'm going to share a little bit about Catherine before I turn over the screen to her. So she is the president and CEO of CP Business Solutions, a strategic marketing company from Ottawa, serving clients across Canada and internationally. They provide outstanding branding services, corporate displays, and strategic document development. She's a mom, a wife, and a philanthropist. And so we did ask her for 3 fun facts. People are often hesitant to share those. So, and I'm excited because this, Thriving Forward is all about getting to know, I mean, it's great that we, a lot of us have businesses, but it's all about getting to know you as a person. So this is pretty cool. So Catherine has served on a 14-month military peacekeeping mission in Egypt. She can tie a cherry stem in a knot with her tongue. There's only one other person I ever knew could do that.
I never bought a drink through university. It was great.
And she said the gray roots on her hair are now 2.5 inches long, thanks to the COVID situation.
It was a tough call giving you just 3.
So this evening, I'm pleased to share that she is going to be talking about how we are creating balance in our home in unique times, kinda. I won't run over the summary that she gave us about the talk. I'm just going to hand this all over to her. You have control of the screen, my dear, and thank you so much. And
wanted to make sure that I came across as being warm and authentic before I started my presentation, because it's a little bit wacky. So I'm just going to jump in. I prepared some slides. I'm probably going to bounce in and out of the slides, but the slides are just there because I know some people really like structure during a presentation, and but they're not super structured slides, so you'll be fine if you don't. So I'm just going to share my screen, and we'll get going. There we go. This is a very professional, yet casual and warm shot that I often use in my grown-up presentations. That is probably the last one you will see today. Here is a clip of what my life is like right now. So that is the life I am living right now. And just so you know, I have 2 kids. I'm going to get into it a little bit about our life and share that with you. But yeah, that was my kid at midnight in the snow drawing a giant penis on our deck.
Nice.
So you know. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our crazy life before COVID, our crazier life since COVID, and then for the people who like structure, I have an A, a B, and a C, and then I'm going to talk about next steps. So this was our crazy life before COVID. Okay, my husband's not in the shot, but he's around still. So far, you know. So subject number 1 is a 16-year-old male. Subject number 2 is a 14-year-old female. Subject number 3 is not in this photo, but you'll see him later. He's a general in the Air Force, in the Canadian Air Force. And then there's me. And I have enough of an insane, busy, crazy life on my own. But when you add the other 3 into the mix, it gets quite wacky. So when Penny Lee and I spoke about the theme of home, I was trying to think, what could I bring to the table that would really resonate with people? So I'm going to talk to you about what we did during COVID to get a positive end result and still keep, you know, sanity in the household. Because that was my goal, absolutely, was to keep sanity in the household. So a little bit about each of the players. Matthew is 16 years old, and he has a crazy busy life. Here's a shot of all 4 of us. I have not doctored or filtered any of these pictures, so, you know, they're raw. So Matthew's 16, there's me, there's Mike and Emily. This is at the Army Run. It is the one time a year I run. Every year I say I'm going to train for it, and I never do. I go from couch to start line, and about the 1.5 kilometer mark, I am weeping, but I always finish, and I hang my dog tags up proudly, but I hate it. But I do it every year, and I have lots of cool shirts. Here's a little bit about Matthew. He is 16 years old, and he's very busy. He owns his own business, which you can see. I know it looks like an ad, but because I clipped this picture out of something else, I'm not pushing his company. But he makes the little bin liners that go into your compost bin under your kitchen sink. He's got 12 employees, one of whom is his sister. She's the chief operations officer. And 12 employees who work on that team. And right now he's hurting big time because none of his employees can come to the house. So the CEO has had to really step up his game and engage and fold himself. Picture here of Mike and Matthew and I, and that's when Matthew won the Young Entrepreneur of the Year award for the Chamber of Commerce. The category went up to the age of 30, and there was a really PO'd 28-year-old guy after this party, which was super fun. Emily has her own craziness. She also teaches Taekwondo. She is into volleyball. She champions any cause she can get her hands on, and she loves to rescue nature, whether nature wants it or not. So she often brings home live animals, newts, birds that don't have a broken wing, even though she really wants them to, so that she can save it. You know, a whole bunch of that going on. Here's a picture of the 4 of us. Mike's last name's Rafter, so are the kids. And Emily is just about to get her black belt in Taekwondo as well. So, and she teaches a lot of it. So there's a lot going on in our house. It's a pretty hairy environment. Mike is in the military, as I mentioned, and he's a general. So sometimes he's in town, sometimes he's not. Sometimes I forget where he is. Often I will call him thinking he's in a time zone in Europe, and I forgot that he's in the Pacific Rim, so he doesn't really appreciate that. Usually I don't even know what hotel he's staying in because I just lose track. And we're often going to like military balls or dinners or things like that. One time he was in Korea while I was in Nunavut working, and the kids were at home with grandma, and poor grandma had to take care of all their crazy schedules of football and band and work and Taekwondo and nature rescuing and all this stuff. So our house gets a little bit, you know, I wouldn't say volatile, but it's definitely controlled chaos at times. And this is one of my favorite pictures ever. Matthew when he was younger and I on a roller coaster. And I just feel like this really, really captures our house before COVID. It was really like this. On a good day or a good week, we would have dinner together maybe twice a week. Not that we didn't want to, but everybody was going somewhere. So, you know, I was at networking events. I was at, I hate the breakfasts though, they're so early. There were breakfasts. Mike was out. We would be shuttling kids back and forth because they had to be 100 places, but they're too young to drive. And it got to be a lot. And I found that my time was not my own. And I was often feeling like I was going to events because I was supposed to be there, or somebody, it would be good if you were seen there. And I didn't necessarily want to be at all of them, but I didn't turn them down. I always had a great time and saw people that I liked, but I realized after COVID, the people who were suffering were my family and me. So even though my business was developing nicely, there was a cost to it. And so that got a little bit tough to swallow. So our life since COVID has been slightly different. And the photo there, that's my roots, but I am like well beyond the 2.5-inch line now, just so you know. So our life is crazier, reference the penis video, but we're also getting more time together. So we went, I think, 9 days in a row where we all sat at the kitchen table for dinner and we were all chatting and everything was good. But the kids were like, on day 10, they were like, we're done. Like, we're just done. We don't want to do another one. Can we average 5 nights out of 7? Because we're spending a lot of time together now. Like, they were just feeling a little suffocated. But, we're having dinner together. We're playing indoor golf. We're cooking, trivia and games. Now it's still chaotic. I don't think that it's not. But it's a controlled chaos that has this layer of joy. And the joy is there all day, every day. And I'm just going to show you some of these. I've got a series of quick pictures. And these pictures are shot from my iPhone. Some of them are grainy. But I think you can understand what I'm talking about here. So this was Matthew getting a haircut because he needed one. And that's Emily taking a picture of it because she was so excited. And it's a haircut, which shouldn't be a big deal. We videotaped it. We laughed. Look at my hair in that picture. My God. Mike was reading instructions. Matthew was clearly hesitant. Emily was loving every moment of it. And it became a moment. It became a thing. And prior to this, Mike and Matthew just would have jumped in the car, gone to the barbershop, got a haircut, come home, while I was driving Emily somewhere else, or cooking a meal that, was woefully short on vegetables and heavy on carbs and chicken fingers or something like that, right? But this moment means so much to me. And then if you look above Emily's camera, you can see up here, that's all the newspaper that's getting ready to be folded for M Company. So while they're making their bid liners. And then this is really funny. I just happen to have an orange scarf in the picture, which is, orange is the color of my company. So I look at this and I think of all the joy and fun that's happening, whereas a haircut before used to mean nothing. And it became a moment. And then top corner here, this is Em and I. We did an online flower bulb planting course with Flowers Talk Tivoli. Emily and I would have never done that. This is the only plant that's alive in our house right now. We have no plants because plants don't survive in a place where you don't nurture and give back and take the time to catch your breath and appreciate things. Now we have an entire herb garden. We've got 3 containers of plants and she checks in on them every day. And we actually have hanging baskets in the backyard now that we never used to put up before. But the kids are taking care of the baskets because they're nurturing them and we're taking the time. Over here, this is a picture of Emily. The kids have started cooking. She was cutting onions at the time, so she was extremely concerned about her eyes. So she's got goggles on and a hoodie, and she's looking a little gangster. But what we started doing was, we started this in January, is getting HelloFresh, because we decided that I wasn't meal planning as much as we should be. We were having too many, throw a pizza in the oven nights, and we just all needed more fiber in general. So what we did was we got HelloFresh, and now we get 3 meals a week that we all pick together. Matthew cooks one, Emily cooks one, and Mike and I do the other. So they're learning to cook as well. So they're nurturing plants, they're learning to cook. It's amazing. This is Emily and I playing indoor golf. This was early on when we were sort of bored and looking for, oh, look, there's toilet paper in the picture. That's hilarious. So this is early on in COVID, and we were trying to think of interesting things to keep busy. So the tee off was in our ensuite bathroom, and the the hole, if you will, for the cup was all the way down in the basement. And so you had to make it all the way through, bounce off furniture, 2 flights of stairs, and we kept track to see who was getting the best score. And Matthew was doing it too. And it was so fun. And we were with each other, and we were telling stories, and we were being together. And I don't want you to think that we were cold before. We were just so absorbed in our own activities that we weren't giving each other the time that they deserved. This, I kid you not, this actually happened. This was not a setup. This is Matthew learning how to braid Emily's hair. And he did it just on a dare and a challenge. And he did a great job. But like 14 and 16-year-olds hanging out together in the evening, they're not picking at each other. They're not throwing each other under the bus. They're not trying to get in trouble. They're genuinely enjoying each other's company, you know? And it's I would say slightly shocking, but it's so great to see. Hair seems to be a theme. I don't know why. I just pulled some random pictures. There's Matthew getting haircut number 2. Mike did it outside, which was funny. And this is, oh my God, this is a good shot of my roots. So Emily started braiding my hair. The braid came out dark and the whole bottom was white. I was like, God, that's going to cost a fortune to get this fixed. But anyway, I'm just not quite ready to let it go, you know? So this was our crazy situation. So I just wanted to talk to you. I've got just a couple more slides, but I just wanted to talk to you briefly and explain how we got to this point. So the next 3 slides talk about the choices and the changes we made so that we didn't just have the crazy life that we had before jammed into a house with no adjustments, because then you just have crazy chaos with nowhere to go and pent up energy that's usually out at football or taekwondo. So what adjustments did Mike and I make to bring this peace into our house? And, you know, spoiler alert, it's not yoga, because I can't do that. I totally respect people who can, but that is not my jam. Also, nobody's drinking more, right? So we're all okay there too. So what we did was, this is where the ABCs came in. What was our aim when COVID started? So my focus, I had 2 things I had to worry about. One was getting my mother out of Florida ASAP. I mean, I really ramped up to do that. And then as the kids' school got canceled, I was thinking about what was our goal. We didn't know how long this was going to go on. At first, everybody thought it was going to be March break plus 2 weeks. But I did a bit of research, and I was starting to watch Italy pretty closely. So we didn't know how long it was going to go on for. So my thought was, what was our goal? How do we want to come out of this situation? What is our end game? And the bottom line was, I don't really care if they finish their schooling. My kids are doing really well in school. They're quite bright. But I didn't care if they finished their schooling. I wanted the house to be peaceful. I wanted our relationships to be at a minimum preserved, if not enhanced, because I think that there's opportunity for complete, you know, degradation of a relationship if you're not careful. And I wanted us to come out of this with some great memories and not thinking that every day was terrifying and horrific, because they're kids. I mean, they're young adults as teenagers, but they're children. And whatever decisions we make was really going to affect them moving forward. So, whoops. The B is balance. So Mike and I talked about what we really thought was a priority. And is it a priority that my kids get up at 9 o'clock and have breakfast? It's really not, because they're teenagers. So what we chose to do was let them self-regulate. So they started sleeping like ridiculous amounts. I mean, I'm talking like 2:30 in the afternoon. They would get up at 2:30 and then they would start eating incessantly, like a pack of badgers, and they would eat nonstop until we would get to dinner, and then they would sit formally at the table and eat again. And then as soon as the dishes were cleaned up, they would start eating again, and then they would go to bed at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Somewhere between midnight and 1 was when they chose to share their hopes and dreams with us, which was a little bit unfortunate since we're both working full time. So I was getting tired. That's where the whole penis video came in. That was one night of like talking and laughing, but we're doing it at like midnight. Finally, I said, guys, I can't keep doing this. So we put a 12 to 12 rule in. You have to be up by 12 and you got to be in bed by 12. That lasted for about 2.5 days. And then I was like, screw this. Why am I being the police? You go to bed when you want. So what they're doing is they're going to bed around 1 and they're getting up around 1. All of their schoolwork is done. They're doing it on their own schedule when they're ready to do it. They have not missed anything being handed in, because I said, listen, this is the deal. If you want to self-regulate, you got to do it all. They get up I was going to say morning, but when they get up in mid-afternoon, on the kitchen island, there's a list of chores. They pick 2 each. That's it. It's simple stuff like take out the recycling, bring in the garbage cans. Sometimes it's wash the kitchen floor, empty or load the dishwasher. Very, very simple things. But they know when they get up, they're going to expect 2. And then every once in a while, I just leave them a happy face with no chores. Our house looks like a bomb went off in it. The dust in this house is unbelievable right now. But you know what? I have happy kids, and they're responsible, and they're managing their time, and we're having a good time together. And they also have personal time. Now, are they watching too much TV? Oh my God, yes. Way too much screen time. But you know what? So am I. Am I on Facebook way too much? There's no way I need to know this much about other people's breakfast. I just do not need to know this much. I say I'm checking it for clients. That's bull. I'm just scrolling and losing an hour of my life. So I'm not going to turn around and give my kids a hard time for hanging out on YouTube for too long, because, I'm just as bad. My phone is in my hand all the time. And then finally, choices. So, which I think is really great, Liz, because you were talking at the beginning about your choice for change. And so my point is, with every choice I make with my family right now, I have the end game in mind. It is a peaceful, happy house with enhanced relationships. Somebody dropped 3 eggs on my kitchen floor the other day while they were learning to cook. I was like, oh, well, you keep cooking and I'll get the eggs cleaned up because you don't want to lose your place in the recipe. I didn't freak out. I'm not going to freak out over that. I've lowered not my standards. I've just changed what's important to me. So for me, next steps, this is another one of my formal pretty pictures that I use in my grown-up presentations. So next steps for me are to continue rich conversations with my family and my kids, to continue to teach them to be respectful and considerate of each other, which they really already are, and to try and keep a calm and joyful environment. I mean, how cool is it that you can drop 3 eggs on the kitchen floor and not have anybody freak out, that you can play indoor golf in your pajamas with your mother and draw a giant penis on the backyard and nobody freaks out over it, So that's my package. I know it sounded like I was bragging about my kids, which of course, what mother doesn't do that? But my point is, it's applicable in everyone's home. So think about what you want your end game to be, and it doesn't have to be during COVID. It could be any time. Think about what you want your end game to be. Find the balance to achieve that, and stay anchored in your choices. And that's my message for today.